Welcome to the Mindset RX podcast, a show for functional athletes who want to gain a champ's mindset. My name is Tom Foxley, and I'm the founder and the head coach of Mindset RX. Today's show is all about embracing hardship. Now, if you've been around the Mindset RX world for more than, I reckon, 5 seconds, you'll probably have heard me say the phrase embrace hardship. Now, embracing hardship is the foundation of pretty much everything we do at Mindset RX, not just because it has such a personal meaning to me, a personal purpose, I suppose, to me, but because whenever I identify successful people, whether that's within CrossFit or outside of CrossFit, whenever I identify successful ways of being as well, they all have embracing hardship at the core. Now, we can look at this on a very individual level and in a very obvious way, like Matt Fraser. Okay, let's say Matt Fraser, the CrossFit athlete, CrossFit champ of the last 4 years or something like that. He is a definite embracer of hardship. Same can be said about everyone's favorite CrossFitter, Brent Fikowski. Like, he's a definite embracer of hardship. And we, at the top of the game, look around and we go, oh, those guys embrace hardship. But then we kind of distance ourselves from that. And we don't just have to look at the CrossFit Games for examples, because they're littered all around us. Even if we look at kind of philosophical outlooks on the world, we find that no matter the philosophy, whether it's existentialism or whether it's stoicism or whether it's even Buddhism, they all have embracing hardship at the foundation. And this is because it's a fundamental way of being. It's a fundamental truth of being, I would say, that if we shy away from hardship, then it's going to get the best of us. Because hardship is coming whether you like it or not. There's basically two types of hardship. We have incidental hardship and intentional hardship. Intentional hardship, let's start with that because I kind of mumbled it. So intentional hardship is hardship that you actively seek out, that you're intentionally moving towards. So an example of that would be the fact that I just did Murph this morning. I woke up with the idea of doing a half marathon row, and I got to the gym, and it's just this shitty little Globo gym just down the road from me that I sometimes use. And I got there and I was like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna do a half marathon row. I was wearing my Embrace Hardship t-shirt, and it was like, okay, sit down, press the button on the monitor, ready to go. And of course, there was no batteries, or the batteries had run out, or the display was broken or something like that. So it was not going to happen today. There was no half marathon row, but I was there and I was wearing the Embrace Hardship t-shirt, and I'm fully aware of what embracing hardship is for. And I did Murph instead. So you can have that kind of smaller side of embracing hardship too. Now, so we've got the intentional hardship like that. We go towards hardship. And then we have incidental hardship. Now, this is the hardship of life, I like to say. It's the hardship that is coming whether you like it or not. Sooner or later, something's going to go not as planned. Something is going to royally screw up your day, your week, or your year, or maybe even your life, but only if you have the audacity to say that it's screwing up your life. Because that's really a shift of perspective. And that's really what the whole concept of embracing hardship is. It's shifting our perspective on a daily basis. It's saying this hardship is not something that I should shy away from, but it's something that I should actively seek out. It's something that when I'm confronted with it as well, I should go towards instead of shying away from it. Now, if we look at, for example, meditation, let's extract this out away from training, because we're talking about training, but really we're talking about life. If we look at meditation, because this is a great tool for really getting to know who you are, you get these distractions, you get these things come up in your mind, and you have two choices. You have the shut it out, ignore it, like it's there, but just push it away mentality that is so popular in the West. Or we have the, okay, it's here, and accept that it's here. And that is a very difficult thing to do if we've been conditioned not to do it. So what we actually have to do is find the hardship and go, good. To use that Jocko Willink phrase, good. It's here. There's nothing you can do about it. Whether you ignore it or you accept it, it's here, and being here is a good thing. Like we like that hardship because it's a sign that we are in the space between the known and the unknown. We are essentially getting uncomfortable, to use that phrase. We're getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and more so getting uncomfortable being comfortable. And just recently I've been reflecting on the things that I know to be true, and this is one of them. Whether I look back at, like, to go all the way back, I can tell you the story of when I started training for the Royal Marines. And I had this idea, I've talked about it before, about how I actually started it, so I'm sure you can find that in a back episode somewhere. But I had this idea of joining the Marines, and I was suddenly very kind of motivated and driven to go towards it, because it was like this thing that I could see the possibility of change. The difficulty was I was a shit runner because I didn't run, so I had to start running. And the running that they require you to do to enter is a fairly average standard. Like, I think most people should be able to do one of those tests, but I couldn't. I ran for about 200 meters, and I had my hands on my knees, breathing out of my ass, thinking, oh, this is the worst. This is so impossibly tough. And I was just like, oh, I can't do this. I can remember being just down the lane where we used to live with my hands on my knees in the cold, breathing. And little did I know it then, but looking back on it, it was very obvious what I had to do. I had to embrace the hardship. I knew I could either turn around and probably say goodbye to my dreams, or I could go towards that hardship. I could embrace it. And honestly, I ran like 3 miles because I knew that was the ultimate requirement, but I ran it in like 45 minutes. And I ran like 100 meters, and I'd walk for 50 meters, and then I ran 100 meters and I'd walk for 50 meters, but I stuck it out. And it's that embracing hardship that got me there. Or we can look at what is something that's a bit abstract from here. Now, when I first moved to London 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, I think, I had little to no money to my name. Like, I was struggling, guys. Like, I was not in a good place financially, but I knew I had this dream of like, okay, I need to, and I want to build Mindset RX because it's the most important thing that I think I can do with my life right now. And building Mindset RX meant that I had to live in London, the more expensive place to live, but commute back to Cambridge like 2 or 3 times a week, the place where you could earn less money. And what this meant as well is that I didn't have a car, so I had to get the train, which was more expensive, which meant I had to work longer hours with my old personal training base. And also it meant that I had to cycle around London, which isn't so bad. It's pretty dangerous, but it's not so bad. But I remember days when it was freezing cold. Like, I was cycling in my ski gear because it was that cold, my ski jacket anyway. And I had gloves on, had a hat on, and then I had a helmet on like over the hat. And I remember days when I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't go forwards because it's just too much for me. Like, it's too hard. And the embrace hardship thing came to mind. And there's honestly, there's days where I had to cycle to Liverpool Street, which isn't very far from here. It's like a 30-minute bike ride. And then I had to get the train from Liverpool Street to Cambridge. Oh no, to Saffron Walden, sorry, which is like this place in between Cambridge and London. So it's like a fairly shortish, it's like an hour train journey. But this was like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I was going the opposite way to all the commuters, and which is great because you've got loads of space. But anyway, I'll get to Saffron Walden. I'd cycle into Saffron Walden, which is like another 30-minute cycle, 30-minute cycle in the freezing cold or the rain. do some personal training, cycle back to the train station, get the train to Cambridge, cycle from Cambridge train station to the gym that I was working out of for personal training, cycle back, which again was like 20-30 minutes each way. None of the personal training sessions ever lined up, so it was never like a quick in and out, come back and then go back to Saffron Walden, cycle in and out in the freezing rain. I'd spend the whole day wet and cold. And then I'd eventually get back at like 9 o'clock in the evening, back to my flat in London, which was like, I can finally spend some time with my girlfriend Harriet, but I was exhausted. But the thing that kept me going then was the knowledge that if I kept on embracing hardship, I could move forwards. And that embracing hardship was exactly where I needed to go. And if there's one truth that I found in life, it's this: embracing hardship is a good thing to you. And I don't mean going crazy and like just suffering for suffering's sake. I mean actively seeking out that which will challenge you and most lead to growth. That's where we need to go. It's that active seeking out of hardship. In other words, as Jordan Peterson would refer to, embracing the space between the known and the unknown. That's where we have to go. And the more that becomes my MO for life, that is the more that becomes my MO for life, the better my life gets. And any time that I find myself not entirely satisfied, I know it's because I'm shying away from hardship, and that hardship is where I need to go. So I hope this is useful for you. And what I'm doing at the moment is I'm hosting a little competition. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what the competition is, but I'll tell you what the prizes are. And the prizes are a free Mindset RX t-shirt and a one-to-one coaching call with me, which I do not do unless you're in the Inner Athlete Performance Camp. So those are the prizes. And to find that, to kind of enter that competition and find out more details about it, there's no you don't have to share anything, you just have to do some cool shit and impress me. All you have to do is find out the Facebook group Mindset for Functional Athletes. So if you go on Facebook and search for Mindset for Functional Athletes, or if you go to my Instagram and click the link in my Instagram bio, which is like a link tree thing, so you get a bunch of different links that come up, you can select the one that says Mindset for Functional Athletes, and there's loads of information. We're going to be running competitions every single month, so get in there, even if you're listening to this a bit later. So, my final words: embrace hardship and get after it. And I'll speak to you all very soon. Of course, if you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. And I'll speak to you all very soon.